Being the year of the pandemic, then we have the same kind of quietness and spaciousness that we have had for most other days of this year. So it's a very unusual New Year's Day, and so we realize that for many, many people coming to the monastery and having the opportunity to make offerings, to take the refuges and precepts, to have an auspicious string, a blessing cord tied on one's wrist on these days, these are very important customs and very significant. So this year it's not possible to do in the flesh, to actually physically visit and such like. But I would like to encourage us to understand that these aspects of Dhamma practice, visiting the monastery, making physical offerings, the act of taking the refuges and precepts with the monastic community, to having a piece of string, a blessing cord tied on one's wrist. These are all external features of the practice, and I would say that really the most important thing is the mind. And so the external practices of physically traveling to the monastery, or say pronouncing the words of the refuges and precepts together with a member of the monastic community, or having a blessing cord tied around the wrist. These are skillful means, they're upayas, but it's really the mind that is the most important thing. So today we'll be offering a few opportunities this morning now to take the refuges and precepts to begin this new year, and then we'll also be giving the usual Anumodana this morning. And this afternoon, again, there'll be another opportunity to determine the refuges and precepts. We will chant the protective verses, the Paritta, this afternoon, and then there'll be a Dhamma talk. So there are ways that people can join in, and I would encourage you to do that. And so that the possibility of being here in person is not available, but the most important thing is the mind. And so wherever you happen to be in your homes, around this country or the UK or around the world, then this is a time to, say, refresh one's intention, to make a new beginning, to look back over the previous year and to learn from the successes and failures, the pains and delights, the struggles and the insights that came from last year, and learning from the past. Then we reflect on that in the present, and then that helps us to plant seeds that will ripen in skillful qualities, wholesome, beneficial qualities in the future. So without further ado, we'd like to request the refuges and precepts, and we can begin with that part of this morning's ceremonies.
Mayam bante tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama Dutiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama Tatiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha pancha silani yachama
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Ti sarana gamanang nititang.
Amavante.
Panati pata verapmani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Panati pata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana verapmani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara verapmani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu michachara veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musavada verapmani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya majappamadatana verapmani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya majapamadattana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Imani pancha sikapadani silena sugating yanti silena poga sambara silena nibuting yanti tasama silang viso daye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Well, our teacher, Luang Por Chah, established two central principles that he would refer to over and over again as a basis for our practice. And I feel in many, many ways the Refuges and the Precepts reflect these two. The first of these is the inner quality of right view. So on the inward side, establishing right view, and then in terms of activity, the external qualities, that of living according to the precepts. And so when we take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, then as I say, most weekends when I'm giving these, leading these ceremonies and we're taking the precepts, then I like to remind people that when we take refuge in Buddha and Dhamma and Sangha, these are establishing the view, really, establishing the way in which it's most skillful to view this life, this body of ours, this mind of ours, this world that we live in and that we engage with, this life that we participate in. And so taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, even though the languaging is very much in accordance with our Buddhist tradition and our Pali language and these teachings, they are referring to innate human qualities that cross all boundaries, across all religions, are not a monopoly of Buddhism, but rather these are innate human qualities and capacities that we can draw upon. So establishing this quality of right view, I would say, or seeing things in the most clear and beneficial, helpful way, to take refuge in the Buddha is to choose to be awake, to choose to not be snoozing through life and to be, say, unmindful. The Buddha said, and this was almost a sort of national motto for Amaravati, that Lumpur Sumedho would repeat over and over again in the early days, and we had on many of our publications, that mindfulness, heedfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The mindful, the heedful never die. The heedless are as if dead already. So and Amaravati means the deathless realm. So this is encouraging that quality of mindfulness, heedfulness, really paying attention. As the Buddha's language is quite strong here. You know, the heedless are as if dead already. It's not as though our bodies are not moving around, or we can't see or hear or talk, but that kind of deadness is a deadness based on a mind, say, clouded by self-obsession, self-concern, egotistical patterns of thinking and attitudes. And so that the mind attaches to things that it likes, things that it dislikes, to praise and criticism, gain and loss, comfort and discomfort, success and failure, and that makes those very real and solid. And so the Buddha speaks of that as being as if we're dead already. We're not really alive. We're not attuned to reality. We're living in a world that's the heart has been tied to birth and death, and so there is that sense of living in that death-bound realm. So the mindfulness, heedfulness, appamada is the path to the deathless. So when we're really awake, when the mind is able to see through those attitudes and is able to view like and dislike, gain and loss, praise and criticism, fame and disrepute, with an even vision, with an equal eye, to see those as merely flavors of sweetness and bitterness, of heat and cold, and to not be deluded by that, to understand these are just the tones of the world, the texture of the world, and is not attached to that, identified with any aspects of that, then the heart is enabled to awaken to the deathless, the unborn, the undying, the Amara. That this forms the name of this very monastery. So to take refuge in Buddha is to choose to be awake, to be mindful, to be aware. To take refuge in Dhamma, Dhamma is the integrative principle of all things. So we can say Dhamma is nature, that which is the upholding and integrating principle of all things, physical, mental, spiritual. So to take refuge in Dhamma is essentially to choose to be realistic, to not be, say, dwelling in our opinions, our fears, our hopes, our memories, our plans, in the mind-fabricated world, the sort of mental constructions of how we think it should be, how it used to be, how it could be, how we'd like it to be, how we're afraid it's going to be, but rather opening the heart to the way it is. And over and over again, the teachings of the Buddha and our own Ajahns, Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Sumedho, remind us of this, that this is the way to live peacefully and with a quality of freedom and ease, is for the heart to be in tune with nature, with reality, and to reflect, this is the way it is. Even one of Lumpur Sumedho's books is called This is the Way It Is, from that era when he would be emphasizing this over and over and over again, that opening the heart to the suchness of reality. This is the way it is, Ben Yang Ni Eng in the Thai language. Then there's a quality of stability and ease. To take refuge in Sangha means to incline towards that which is wholesome, that which is noble, to say choose the path that leads to harmony between ourselves and others, the love of the good, really, listening to that voice in the heart that is, say, appreciative of wholesomeness and that which is noble, that which is virtuous and honest. There's an English word, synderesis, which most people are not familiar with, which means the love of the good. So it's not a word that's used in common speech. You wouldn't find people using that in a conversation on the 159 bus, but it's a useful word. It means the love of the good, and that's a quality of our own heart. In the Pali language, there's the word Dhamma, which also is not very commonly used in Pali either. Dhamma, and that is the same thing. That's that quality of virtue, that in the heart which delights in goodness, in harmlessness, in honesty. So when we take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, establishing that view, it's like seeing that these are the most valuable and beautiful qualities in life and placing them consciously at the center. Then in terms of action, if we view things in that way, if the heart sees the world and this life, this body, this mind of ours from that point of view, based in awareness, in reality and in virtue, then the natural result of that is to be harmless, to be honest, to be modest in one's and careful in one's behavior, and to be honest in one's speech, and to be inclined towards more mindfulness, not to take intoxicants that create more heedlessness and open up the path to those death-bound states. So that I feel that setting out for the new year to establish, say, a commitment or resolutions for the new year, to establish right view on the inside, and to establish the heart and the behavior in sila, in the 5 precepts. This is a very skillful direction to set for this year ahead. This is day 1, so start out in a good way, and then you have the possibility of ending up with a good result. As an old Buddhist saying, if you start out on the mark, then you have a possibility of ending in a good place. If you're off at the beginning, then you'll end up being off by 1,000 miles. That might sound depressing, but it's encouraging us to do the best we can to start out in a good way. And here on January the 1st, 2021, this is a really good opportunity to bring our intentions, our attitudes into alignment with Dhamma right here at the beginning of this year. So we have a number of dedications to read this morning. So firstly, this is from Mahesh and Savi Punchihua, with the dedication, may this offering be for the welfare of our departed parents, SDS and Lakshmi Somaratana, and Victor Ananda Silva, and Martin, who worked in our house. Also for late S. Damel, S. Somaratana's on 33rd death anniversary on the 8th of January, and late Martin's death anniversary on the 16th of December. Also, Dana is being offered today, dedicated for Mr. Tom King, Mr. Steve Jones, and Duangjit Pukma, being offered by Duangjit Pukma. Dana is also being offered today, dedicated for Chandi and Atula family, to bring blessings for their daughter who's having difficulties, their daughter Stephanie, and granddaughter Nalat. Also to dedicate blessings for elder daughter's examinations, and also for Gayan and Nimash, the son-in-law. Also, Dana is being offered today, and we dedicate blessings to Nuan and Te Malun, Samrui Sripun, and that's from Michael, Jason, Ratri, and Ratri Spivey. Also, Dana is being offered today by the Dharma Wardana family in memory of their father, Mr. E.K.K. Dharma Wardana, who passed away on the 2nd of April 2020, last year. Also, Dana is being offered today in memory of Mrs. Kusum Fernando, who passed away on the 31st of December 2006, from her loving daughter, Awanka Fernando, and family. Also, Tina Chi, Dr. Tina was in touch with us and asked us to dedicate blessings for her former medical student friends who studied with her in Myanmar and now living in Northallerton. And they're all suffering from the COVID-19 virus. Her friend, Dr. Kyo Tint, who's a consultant anaesthetist, and he's very seriously ill on a ventilator at the moment. Also his wife, Dr. May T, she's also ill, not quite so seriously suffering, but also hospitalized with COVID. Also for their daughter and son-in-law, also with the COVID virus, but they're coping at home at the moment. So we dedicate our blessings for all of those friends of Tina. And lastly, Sheila Kurwan is asking us to dedicate blessings today for her parents, John and Joan Kurwan. And the dedication reads, "My father has COVID. He just got a positive result yesterday. Mother has symptoms, but as yet hasn't had her results." So, and that's with many thanks and gratitude to the Triple Gem and best wishes for an enlightening winter retreat. That's from Sheila Kurwan, who's an old friend and supporter of Amaravati. So we'll dedicate our blessings and good wishes for all of these people and for all beings everywhere. Yatha varevaha pura paripurindi sagarang evamewa hitodinang petanang uppakapati ichitang paritang tumhang kipamewa samichatu sabhe parentu sankappa chando pannaraso yata manicho dhiraso yata sabaro govina satu mate bhavatwan tarayo sukiri kayuko bhava abhivadana silesa nityang vudha pachahino chataro dhamma varandi ayuvano sukhang balang yang kinchi vedang itawa urang wasage suvayang ratanang bhanitang nanno sammang atitata gatena ida pibuddhe ratanang bhanitang tena sajena soa tihotu kayang viragang amatang bhanidang yada janga Sakyamuni samahito natena dhamme nasamadhi kinchi dhambi dhamme ratanang banitang ete nasajena soa
tihotu yambo raseto bariwa nai suching samadhimanan tarikan yama husama dinna tena samo navi chati dambi damme ratanang banitang etena saje nasawati hotu ye puggala atasatang basada cha tariyetani yuga nihonti teda kinaya sugata sasavaka ete sudinna nima palani hidambi sanghe ratanang banitang etena sa jena sawati hotu yesu payuta manasa talena nikamino gotama sasanami te patibhata hamata vigaya lada mudani buting bunjamana ida pisanghe ratanang banit etena sajena sawati hotu kinang pura nang nawani sambhavang vira tajita yatike pavasming de kina bija haviru lichanda nebandi dhira yatayam bari pohida pisanghe ratanang vanitang etena saje nasawadi hodo bhavatu sabha mangalang rakandu sabandevata sambhambu danubhavena sada soti bhavatu te bhavatu sabha mangalang rakandu sabandevata sambadam nubhavena sada soti bhavatu te bhavatu sabama galang rakandu sabandevata sabasanganu bhavena sada soti bhavandure.
So lastly, a reminder, this afternoon we'll have a second session beginning at 2 o'clock. So those of you who are able to tune in and wish to tune in again this afternoon, then please do feel most welcome to. Just find the link on the website at 2 o'clock this afternoon.